Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life and Layouts over here on the Crafty Maven Getaway today, and I am using this inspiration piece that we got for the month of May, as well as I am doing a multi-photo love. And I did not start out with only using this 6x6 paper pad. I was actually planning on using the 12x12 paper as well, but I really liked the smaller prints of the paper pad because of the photos that I'm going to be using. So I tried to pull out the colors that were in the inspiration piece, as well as I'm going to add a typewriter. And I feel like this has a very old-timey feel. Those pattern papers, which I used as my color inspiration from the inspiration piece. And the reason I wanted that type of feel was these photos are from the St. Louis Cemetery in New Orleans, and we went there in 2017 for my birthday weekend, and I loved the experience of seeing how things are done differently in other areas because of their climate and just the structure of their city. This particular cemetery, the St. Louis Cemetery, spans just over 1 square block. So that's not a very big area, but it's a resting place to thousands of people because of the way that they set this up in New Orleans. And New Orleans just doesn't have the space to have huge cemeteries. So they do this differently there. So I wanted a grid style so that I could get lots and lots of photos. I was able to get 6 photos on the right hand side, and then I'm going to add an additional 3 photos on the left. And so what I decided to do, which all of this gets covered up, so it's kind of those, in the beginning it's like, oh, what a great idea. But then I cover it all up anyways. I am trying to mimic the grid on the right-hand side. I don't want it to be exactly the same. But what I'm looking for is that grid style. And I first started out with what I thought was photo sizes. So 3x4s and 4x4s is what I started out with. And then moved there to create the border or the grid style around it. So this is where I am just moving things around. I do really like that camera photo, but the camera paper, but it doesn't end up making it in 2 spots. I just use it in the bottom right. And then I end up actually using a black, other printed paper on the top left there. So after I get my double page layouts together, I'm going to go ahead and put washi tape on the back of it just because I want to make sure that this paper lines up. And I am going to add some pattern paper to the white spots that are in the left side so that it does become a full block around. And you'll see that in just those moments. So this is where I'm pulling out that camera paper, and it was a little short, which I could have made work, but I just went ahead and cut another piece of paper. And it would have been the only pattern paper that was repeated on that side. So that was another reason that I was kind of okay with taking that off. So after I get everything down, I go ahead and take the washi tape off, and I make sure that all of my pieces are down because I did just put a small piece of ATG on the back of them just in case I needed to move them around. So this is where I was talking about how I am adding pattern paper to the sections that are white on the right-hand side. And then I do use this black paper here, and I cut it. It is a 6x6 piece of paper, so I do have to piece it together, and I'll end up covering that up later with some embellishments. Because I could have definitely pulled out the 12x12 sheet of paper, but I was this far into just using a 6x6 paper pad that I was like, I might as well go on full on it. So again, just paper piecing all of these pattern papers together so that it makes a grid on the right hand side. And then what I end up using is the music paper. I do go ahead and double that on the left hand side as well as the camera paper, because in New Orleans they have an area of the cemetery that is specifically for their musicians, and I thought that that was a pretty amazing thing. So I wanted to include this music note paper to kind of represent that tribute to the New Orleans cemetery. So these photos, it was very, very rainy that day. Not like downpour rainy, but just miserable rainy. We don't get that type of rain in Florida. Like, we get showers, and it showers for 15 or 20 minutes and then it's done. Like, we're done for the day. It's very rare that it will rain all day long in Florida. But when we went to New Orleans this particular day, was just a light mist. And because this tour was, I think it was 2 hours long, the entire tour was in rain. And the tour guide kept telling us, well, at least it's not hot. And we're like, okay, we'll take one over the other, I guess. So that's why we are very wet and in rain gear. Even the ponchos that we had on, we still got really wet. So I pulled out my embellishment book, that the idea that I got from Janet at RTS Scrapbooking, and pulled out some embellishment pieces that I thought would work for this particular layout. This sticker sheet, while it's great, and I love this pattern paper, I did pick this up recently at Tuesday Morning, and I love the pattern paper. The stickers don't really go with really anything that I would use it for. So that's why I had to go into my stash. I do pull a couple pieces of the stickers from the sticker sheet of this paper pad, but I do use a lot more of my own stash. And so I pulled in this like peachy orange heart, and it's actually interesting because you can see it now where there's two additional pieces of that peachy orange color, but I embellish and put journaling over both of those, so it stands out a lot in the layout when it's finished. So I thought that these birds were perfect, so I put those up on fun foam, and then I added this other like old-timey camera. I don't know what it is about those old style cameras that I feel like anything that has to do with history, that works with it. So that's why I added that. And then this is that typewriter that I pulled from the inspiration piece that I thought would work perfectly on this, because there are lots of writers and other famous artists that are in this particular cemetery. So one of the cool things about it is that right next to that typewriter is a pyramid style tomb that actually has already been purchased by Nicolas Cage, and he purchased that in 2010, I believe, so that that could be his final resting place, which I thought was really cool to have, to see the future resting place of Nicolas Cage. So I thought it would be very appropriate to add this gray cloud since it was so very rainy that day. And I added these are like those things that go on the top of a clipboard. I don't know what they're actually called, but I thought that was, that fit as well. And then it says Epic Day on that. I'm not sure what it's called. The little circle element there. And then I use these stickers to write out St. Louis, and then I'm going to use these LE Studio stickers to to spell out the word cemetery. And those little things, I love them. I love the shape of them. I love the size of them, but they were a pain to get down just because they were so small. And I had already put the other embellishments there, so I had to move some things around as well. So I have these Felicity Jane heart enamel shapes that I am adding as well in that teal color. And just making sure everything's down, because when we use stickers, they don't always stick very well. And I have this geotag, and I got a whole sheet of them, but the printing was off, so there's like a huge white space on one side of it, so I had to cut a little that side off to make the white space look even on both sides. So I'm trying to make this postcard chipboard piece work, but it just didn't work out. So now I decide that I need to cover up that little line that's on the right hand side where I pieced those two pieces together. So I went ahead and added that orangey peach color bird, and I'm going to add an arrow. So I'm actually going to have the bird sit like right on top of the arrow, and then later on I'll add another piece of embellishment there as well. And then at the top there, I'm going to go ahead and add two meeples, a male and a female, since it was Kevin and I that went on this trip. So I thought that that would work as well. And then I do like to add, if I add wood veneer in one, I like to go ahead and add it in all of mine. So I went ahead and added a camera wood veneer in the title cluster. So next I am going to pull out a typewriter, and I was given this typewriter recently, so it was one that I had to get cleaned up. It is an electric typewriter, which is awesome, and I kind of went a little crazy on the journaling strips, but there was so much that I wanted to say about this strip, and actually the journaling strips worked so well because I was able to put them in several different locations. So talking about this Roman Catholic cemetery, there's 3 of them in New Orleans, and the fact that most of them are above ground, and in the 18th and 19th century is when they were constructed. And this particular, the St. Louis cemetery, opened in 1789 when the city was redesigned after a fire. So that is a lot of journaling there, and so that's what I put down at the bottom. And then I added the journaling about Nicolas Cage, which I thought that was, significant since we were there, and that's actually going to go up next to the tomb so that you can see his picture, or his final resting place where that journaling is. And then on this area over here where the picture of Kevin, I just added that information about the fact that it spans 1 square block. And then on the far right hand side, I added information about, and I thought this was so cool, that they actually leave the bodies in there for a year and a day, and then push the bodies to the back of the what they call oven vault. So that information is over there. So there's tons of journaling on this, which I really always enjoy having. So here are my final layouts, as well as a few close-ups. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more double page layouts, I will link my channel below so that you can check out because that's all I do on mine is double page layouts. Definitely hit the subscribe button here over at the Crafty Maven Getaway, because there are tons and tons of inspiration here from all of the different design team members. All right, everyone, thanks for watching and have a scrappy day.